Hi, I'm Robert Scheinfeld, and I am your host for this video masterclass called The Truth Really Can Set You Free. Welcome. In this video masterclass, I am going to share with you the 4 deeply hidden blocks that have been stopping you from getting what you want most in your life, despite all the time, all the money, all the energy, all the techniques you've tried, everything you've done, trying to live the life that you want. I'm also going to show you what it really takes and what absolutely must happen first if you want to remove those blocks and finally start getting what it is that you want most. The odds are high that nobody has ever told you what I'm going to be sharing with you here. Or if they did, they only gave you little pieces, but not the whole big picture that I'm going to give you here.
Maybe you're here because you want to change, fix, or improve something about money, business, relationships, or your body, or more than one of those. Maybe you want more happiness, inner peace, and freedom from some form of struggle, suffering, and pain. Or maybe there are some big questions that you still need answers to about your life and the entire human experience from a spiritual perspective. No matter what it is, you still don't have it, and that's why you're here. And if you're like I used to be, the really frustrating part is you don't know why you still don't have it, based on everything that you've been taught and everything that you've tried.
As a New York Times best-selling author, globe-trotting speaker, teacher, and coach, I have now been blessed to have the opportunity to touch the lives of hundreds of thousands of people all over the world in deep, profound, and permanent ways. My work has also been featured in big media sources like the ones that you can see on your screen. As you'll see, as you move through this training, I have deep and long personal experience with what it's like to really want things and to go after them and to search and study and embrace techniques and teachings and systems trying to help me get what I want, but seeing my efforts fail over and over and over again. What I'm going to be sharing with you in this video masterclass goes against the grain of the vast majority of the popular teachings that are out there. As a result, depending on what you've discovered and embraced and accepted before coming here, it may be very difficult for you to accept the things that I'm saying here. There may be a lot of resistance from your mind. There may not be, but there may be. At various points, if there is a lot of disagreement that comes from the mind, resistance that comes from the mind, you may even be tempted to say, oh, well, I'm going to stop watching this video masterclass. I just don't agree with what this guy's saying. And that's fine. I see it all the time. I'm used to it. And I'm inviting you to make another choice. You're here because you want things to be different in your life. And obviously the things that you've tried haven't worked or you wouldn't be here. So my invitation to you is, if resistance does come up, if disagreement does come up, just let it be up, but continue through the masterclass. Until you get to the end, you can see the whole picture and you can see what's really possible for you from absorbing the entire video masterclass. Now, the other thing that I'm going to invite you to do is to put on what I call your objective scientist hat. And what I mean by that is, as you go through this video masterclass, my invitation to you is, don't just think about what I say and compare it to the things that you've learned or you believe to be true and keep it all up here, thinking, analysis, intellect, ideas, and concepts. My invitation to you is, put on your objective scientist hat. What do scientists do? They may have a belief, they may think that something's going to turn out a certain way, but they remain objective. And they do experiments, and they see what actually happens. And so that's my invitation to you. I'm going to point at things and ask you to look at them. I'm going to ask you to consider things, and my invitation to you is, do that. Actually look at what happens in your own life. Actually look at the things that I'm going to ask you to look at with your objective scientist hat on and see what you see. If you just think about it, the mind is a very powerful thing, and it can construct logical arguments and it can defend points of view and perspectives for just about anything. and it can be very distorted and come to conclusions that are incorrect. But when you actually see something for yourself, when you can verify something for yourself, that's where the power comes from. And that's what's going to enable me to help you through this video masterclass. So keep it in mind. I'll remind you, put on your objective scientist hat and look at what's actually happening in your life as you go through the masterclass. And don't take anything that I say on faith. Don't just accept it because it makes sense or you understand it or you agree with it. If you stick with me throughout this entire video masterclass, I will show you how you can verify for yourself from your own personal experience what you see for yourself, the truthfulness and the accuracy of the key things that I'm going to be sharing with you here.
The 4 deeply hidden blocks that have been holding you back can be removed, but it has to be done in a special way. Let me illustrate what I mean by showing you this 30-second video.
The building was big and solid. It took a long time to build. Yet, as you saw, it came down so quickly. Why? How is that possible? Well, it's because engineers studied the structure of the building. They placed explosive charges in specific places and then detonated them in a strategic way. The building is like the 4 deeply hidden blocks that have been holding you back. If you want to bring down your building and remove the 4 blocks, you must study the structure of those blocks. You must plant explosive charges, metaphorically, in specific places, and you must detonate them in a strategic way too. I will show you how to do that.
After you bring down your building and you remove the 4 blocks, you can say goodbye forever to fear and frustration, worry and anxiety, depression and anger, stress, and all other forms of struggle, suffering, and emotional pain. You'll also be able to say goodbye forever to the ripples, the side effects that you experience in your life, personally and professionally, and in your relationships because you behave differently when you're unhappy, stressed, and negative. So when those disappear, it will ripple out and change everything, professionally and personally. You'll also be able to say hello to experiencing happiness and inner peace all the time, no matter what's happening in your life or the world, even during these crazy times that we're living in. That may sound impossible or hard to believe, but it's true, and I'll show you how it can happen for you later in the masterclass. I call this being emotionally bulletproof, and if you're a fan of the movie The Matrix, you know what this picture points to. Then what happens is, doors start to open that have always been closed and locked to you, with money, business, your body, relationships, or whatever else is most important to improving your quality of life. More about that later in the masterclass. All right, here is a key and very important point. Drum roll, please. The 4 deeply hidden blocks that have been holding you back have nothing to do with your subconscious mind, your beliefs, your brain, your thoughts, or your feelings. The 4 blocks have nothing to do with your mindset, your energy, your vibration, how evolved you are, or doing techniques incorrectly. The 4 blocks have nothing to do with karma or past lives. The 4 blocks have nothing to do with something being broken, bad, or wrong with you. or any of the other things that you've probably been taught. The 4 blocks are something completely different, something no one ever told you about before. A radically different approach, and I really mean that, can remove those blocks and stop the dead ends that you've been hitting on your quest to get what you want most in life. It may surprise you to hear that radically different approach does not involve techniques, repetitive practices that you must do every day, thinking, figuring things out, or writing things down, or any of the other things that you were probably taught were necessary, that you must do if you want to get what you want. That radically different approach does involve an experience that you go through, an experience unlike anything you've had before, an experience that changes you as you go through it. That's the design, and empowers you to live what I call your true dream life, as opposed to the fake dream life most people seek. If you're a Matrix fan, this experience that I'm talking about that changes you as you go through it is like the red pill that was given to Neo. Before we continue, allow me to share a few comments from other people who had the experience and took the red pill. No one teaches the truth of the way things are more clearly and simply than Robert. My daily experience of life is now cooler than anything I could have ever imagined. This is from Carly Hardy in the United States. The best thing about Robert's teachings is that they are truly transformational, not just theoretical. There are no formulas to memorize, no mantras to repeat. By the end, the learner is really changed. This is from Lisa Gwynn, also in the United States. Robert's honesty, creativity, and integrity are deeply appreciated. This from Cynthia Williams in New Zealand. By the way, if you found your way here after reading this book or the Business Game book, what you'll discover in this training is what I discovered and experienced after applying what's in the book myself for many, many, many years, which includes an accelerated way to knock out cloud cover beyond what I shared in those books. Before we go deeper, it's important that you understand what happened to me and where the discoveries and breakthroughs that I'll be sharing here came from. So with your agreement, I'd like to spend a few minutes telling you a bit about my story. My guess is you'll be able to identify with a lot of it based on what's happened in your life. As you move through the masterclass, it'll become clear why my story is so important to you, having your own big breakthroughs.
I had no goal or plan or intention to be a teacher and a coach of the things that I now teach and I coach on. I just wanted to find a way to fix my own broken life, to end my own struggle, suffering, and pain, to get the things that I really wanted. And when I didn't find the answers or the solutions that I was looking for, when my life did not change the way that I wanted it to and that I needed it to, from embracing the popular teachings that were out there in the mainstream, very visible, very popular books and workshops and events and videos, when I didn't find the answers from the typical places, I went on a search for different answers, different solutions, something off the grid, so to speak. And all in all, I spent more than 30 years trying to find what I call the truth with a capital T. What was really going on? What would it really take for me to be able to change my life and live the kind of life that I wanted, and again, end the struggle, suffering, and pain? And after that journey that I took, after those 30 plus years, I made some discoveries and I had some experiences that changed everything permanently for me. And when I started to share it with people all over the world, I saw that it started to change the lives of other people when nothing else ever did, in the same way. I'll be sharing a bunch of those answers that I found, a bunch of those solutions that I found, how and why my life finally changed, and why hundreds of thousands of other people all over the world, their lives have changed in this video masterclass. And then I'll also show you at the end how to go even deeper if that's something that interests you. I am 63 at the time of this recording. But when I was in my early 30s, all of a sudden 5 patterns started to appear, and they repeated over and over and over and over again for decades. The first pattern is what I call up, 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 crash and burn. And what that means is with business and money and my career, I'd start running with something and I'd get more successful, more successful, more successful, more successful, and then just as I was about to start soaring, something would come out of nowhere and I would crash and I would lose everything. And that kept repeating. The second pattern is what I call dead ending. And what that means is that I would get inspired, that's my word, to go in a particular direction. And this usually was with business and career, but sometimes in my personal life. Something would come to my attention, it's something I wanted to do, I would embrace it, and I would invest time, money, and energy going down this particular road, which had a particular goal and a desire at the end of it. And what would happen is I would do this, invest a lot of time, money, and energy, and all of a sudden the road would dead end. It would go nowhere. It wouldn't lead to the goal. It wouldn't give me any benefits. It was just a dead end. The third pattern is what I call tease and yank, which is similar, but what it means is that I'd be going about my business and all of a sudden this wonderful opportunity would appear. And I would grab it and I would go for it. And again, invest a lot of time, money, and energy pursuing this opportunity that dropped into my lap. And then just as I was getting close to getting the final reward, grasping the brass ring, whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden the opportunity would get yanked and it would disappear. Somebody would change their mind, a company would go out of business, oh, we changed our plans, we're not going to do that anymore, whatever it is. So I got teased with this thing, I got very excited, I went after it, and then it would get yanked before I could actually get the reward. The fourth pattern is what I call Murphy's Law on steroids. And if you don't already know, Murphy's Law is very simple. It states what can go wrong will go wrong. And I would go through these periods. Sometimes it was weeks, sometimes it was months, sometimes it was on and off, but with a lot of consistency for years, where everything that could go wrong would go wrong. With everything in my life. I mean, it would just, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And it was so intense and it happened so often that it really freaked me out and confused me and ultimately made me very angry. The fifth and final pattern was the absence, for the most part, of what I would call respect, honoring, gratitude, and appreciation for who I was as a person, for the contributions that I made to a business or to somebody else's life. It was just a consistent pattern of being treated as if I was unimportant, I wasn't valuable. The things that I did, of which there were many, many, many big contributions that I made to people and to companies, just not appreciated, not respected, treated as if I was unimportant, didn't matter. I'm sure you get the idea, and perhaps you've dealt with the same kind of a thing.
After a while, every time one of those patterns looped, it felt like, drum roll please, I was getting smacked. I was getting punched in the face. It hurt. And then this happened, bigger and bigger. The picture speaks for itself. Do you know those feelings based on what's happening in your life? Odds are you do. After a while, I began to wonder, why are these things happening to me? Why now, when they never happened before I was 35? Did I suddenly get stupid or sloppy in how I went about things? Well, I took a look at that, and the answer was no. I was doing things the same way I always had. So then I thought, was there any relationship between what I was thinking and what was happening? Was there a match between what was in my thoughts and what was happening as these patterns looped? And I took a look at that objectively, and the answer again was no. There was no relationship. I didn't have any thoughts about these kinds of things that suddenly started happening and looped for so long. Did my beliefs or subconscious mind suddenly change when I was 35? I can't see how or why that would be true, is the conclusion that I drew when I looked at that question. Could my energy or vibration have suddenly changed when I was 35? I looked at that too, and I concluded I can't see how or why that would be true either. Didn't make any sense. I began to wonder, how could it possibly be me doing this? Then I began to wonder, How could this be happening? What are the mechanics behind the scenes? For those patterns to repeat so often, for so long, a lot of things had to happen. I began to think whatever force was causing those patterns to repeat had to have absolute control over everything that I thought and felt and did, and had to have absolute control over everything other people thought, felt, and did, because other people were involved in those patterns looping for me. And that force had to have total control over everything that was happening in the world, because a lot of things had to happen in the world for these patterns to loop. That was a confusing and scary thought. Are you with me here? Have you ever wondered these same things on your journey?
I tried all the popular approaches out there, techniques, methods, practices. I had healings and I did things to change beliefs, and I was hypnotized, and I had things to try to raise my vibration, and I did releases, and I did past life regressions, and I did so many different things because I was told, oh, here's your problem, Robert, you just need to do this. So I would do this, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. And it was frustrating enough to just put all this time, money, and energy over and over and over and over into these things, hoping that my life would finally change, and seeing that it didn't. That was difficult enough. But then it was worse, because every time I learned something from somebody, or I was given a technique, or I had a healing, or whatever it was, I was always told about other people that had had this same thing done, or had used this same approach or this same technique or whatever, and had gotten magical results. And so it was very confusing, and it made me very angry. And it was kind of like, well, I did it, and I know I did it right, and why did it work for all these other people and not for me? It doesn't make any sense. What's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? What's buried deeply inside of me? I mean, what's going on that it's not working for me when it appears to be working for all these other people? Over time, from all of these things that I've shared with you, repeating, and other things that I don't have time to go into here, it became crystal clear to me one day. There's got to be something else going on, I concluded, and I got to find out what it is. And no disrespect intended, but it became clear to me that all of these experts and all these people that I had embraced their teachings and their techniques and their methods and practices, this something else going on is something that they clearly didn't know. And I needed to find it, because I knew at this point, if I didn't find the something else that was going on, my life was never going to change, and I was going to be stuck with this stuff the rest of my life, which was not okay with me. And so I made a massive commitment. Whatever it takes, I don't care. I gotta find out the big truth with a capital T. I gotta find out what's really going on. And then once I find out what's really going on, then I gotta find out how to change the way that I live, how to change the way that I go after things in life that I want, in order to finally have the life that I want so badly. But I couldn't find it. And I just kept getting more and more angry and frustrated and confused and feeling like a victim, like some force was intentionally blocking me from getting what I want and finding the big answer that could change everything. And it got so bad at one point that I went outside. You can't see it here, but outside in my backyard. It was at night. It was a full moon. I don't know if that means anything. And I looked up at the sky as if talking to whatever you want to call it, God, source, creator, whatever language you use for that. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I've been searching and searching and searching. And in case you know the story of my grandfather from my best-selling book, Busting Loose from the Money Game, or Busting Loose from the Business Game, my grandfather taught me some things when I was a young boy that was kind of like a tease, because he didn't give me the whole picture. And it was, I've been searching since my grandfather teased me with these things, and obviously I'm missing something. And I said, you've got to give me what I'm missing. You've got to show me the truth. You've got to show me what's really going on, or kill me. That's actually what came out, because I can't do this anymore. I can't live this way anymore. And by then I was married and I had 2 kids, and if this same kind of stuff kept happening with me, it was going to affect them, and I didn't want to hurt them or wound them or damage them or have them have to struggle, suffer, and have pain because of what was happening with me. And so it was like, look, please give me the answers I've been seeking for, or get me out of here, because I can't do this anymore. Nothing happened right away, but 8 months later, things started to move. Things started to change. And that's when I started to see the truth and experience the truth and have the breakthroughs and see things that changed and stayed changed, permanent change and transformation.
So, what did I discover? What finally changed everything? What's the truth, the big truth with a capital T, about why you still don't have what you want? What's the truth, capital T, about why there's still so much struggle, suffering, and pain in your life? What's the truth, capital T, about why you still don't have the big answers you seek? As I said, there are 4 primary blocks that no one ever told you about. To discover what the 4 blocks are and prepare yourself to discover what it really takes to change things, continue on to video 2 in the masterclass by clicking the green button that you'll see beneath this video screen.